A literature review establishes familiarity with and understanding of current research in a particular field or topic. Conducting a literature review should enable you to find out what research has already been done and identify what is unknown within your topic. The literature review analyzes relationships and connections among different works. The literature review should not merely list and summarize one piece of research after another. The importance of currency or timeliness of information will vary by discipline and the purpose of the assignment. The sciences are typically more concerned with current research practice and findings. For example, in fields like health or medicine, the Lit Review may only draw on recent literature which has been published within 5 to 10 years. However, inclusion of much older works is often relevant in fields such as arts, humanities, philosophy, or history. A literature review has 4 main objectives. 1, it surveys the literature in your chosen area of study. 2, it synthesizes the information in that literature into a summary. 3, it critically analyzes the information gathered by identifying gaps in current knowledge, by showing limitations of theories and points of view, and by formulating areas for further research and reviewing areas of controversy. And 4, it presents the literature in an organized way. A primary source in science is a document or record that reports on a study, experiment, trial, or research project. Primary sources are usually written by the persons who did the research, conducted the study, or ran the experiment, and include hypothesis, methodology, and results. Primary sources that describe original research, clinical trials, for example, will be published as peer-reviewed journal articles. But this doesn't mean that all journal articles are primary sources. Primary articles will describe one research project or study. The text of the article will include, at minimum, an introduction with a statement of the research objective, a method section that details exactly how the research was performed, with enough information that another researcher could replicate it, a results section that describes the data collected, including charts or graphs and statistical analysis, and finally, a discussion section that interprets the results within the context of the research objective. Primary sources include historical and legal documents, eyewitness accounts, results of experiments, statistical data, pieces of creative writing, audio and video recordings, speeches, and art objects. Interviews, surveys, fieldwork, and internet communications via email, blogs, listservs, and news groups are also primary sources. Secondary sources list, summarize, and compare and evaluate primary information and studies so as to draw conclusions on or present current state of knowledge in a discipline or subject. Sources may include a bibliography which may direct you back to the primary research reported in the article. A secondary source is a summary or description of a research study written by someone other than the study investigator or investigators. You can identify a secondary source by determining whether the author or authors of the article did not investigate or conduct the research described in the article and instead is describing research done by others. Examples of secondary sources include review articles, systematic reviews, and meta-analyses. The reasons for undertaking a literature review are numerous and include eliciting information for developing policies and evidence-based care, a step in the research process, and as part of an academic assessment. To many qualified nurses and nursing students faced with undertaking a literature review, the task appears daunting. Frequently asked questions range from, where do I start? How to select a subject? How many articles do I need? And to what is involved in a review of literature anyway? Well, this slide helps to illustrate the flow of steps to be undertaken in a literature review. To help ensure that the review is objective and thorough, and contains a very critical analysis of the relevant, available research and non-research literature on the topic being studied. A good literature review gathers information about a particular subject from many sources. While this semester we aren't utilizing an actual literature review per se, but you do need to understand the steps that are taken in a literature review so that you can read a published article with a keen critical eye. Searching databases in a consistent, structured manner will save you time. As your searching progresses and your searches are refined, your search history can be extremely useful. And it can also improve the relevancy of results obtained as you reflect on your keywords and synonyms and how these influence your search results. To develop a search strategy, you'll need to define and write down your research or clinical question. So what is it that you're going to find evidence about? You need to identify and keep a record of key terms, words, and phrases. You need to brainstorm your main discussion points to create new concepts or mind maps that can help tease out themes and keywords. You need to identify keyword synonyms. You also need to determine a time frame from your research if needed. You need to consider what type of material you will include and why. And you also need to identify where you will search for the information. But once you start looking at research articles, you will need to figure out a way to find very relevant information. The first step is to search within a database, such as the EBSCO database. Specifically, CINAHL would be a great place to start, as this database has mostly nursing journals that would be appropriate for topics you are looking up. Forward citation searching is the tracking down of references cited by relevant sources. This means you get to find and be familiar with the literature that led to the sources you're basing your own hypothesis and methodology on. This type of search is sometimes referred to as the ancestry approach or footnote chasing. Conversely, you can use a descendancy approach in which you look at pivotal early studies on the topic you're exploring and then find descendants that cite that pivotal study. This helps gather more information related to that original study. Key search terms, sometimes called keywords, are the words or phrases used to identify all articles that might be relevant to your project. These are different words that mean the same thing, and phrases that come out of a professional thesaurus. Sometimes as we search, we will find that several articles list a common keyword that we have not been searching for. We should add those keywords to our search lists. Within each appropriate online database, a search could be performed for each of those keywords on your search list. For some broader terms, it may be necessary to pair it with a couple different terms to generate more concise source lists. Each time you search for a keyword in a database, it will list all of the articles in the database that relate to that keyword. Some databases have the option to convert these lists into bibliographic reference-style citations. Copy and paste the citation information into a Word document or Excel file to help stay organized. Each time you perform another search, you can just add it to your list, sort alphabetically, get rid of any duplicates, and make notes about the ones that you have already figured out you don't need. This takes some time, but it's completely worth it. It'll help you stay organized and save time later. As you gather articles and abstracts, sort through them to eliminate the articles that you definitely will not need. Make notes on your search lists about which articles may be useful and which ones you are confident you will not need. This will help you to know which articles you have already eliminated and which ones you'll still need to track down. Now, for quantitative studies, it helps to have some independent and dependent variables in mind, as this is super helpful for your search. Additionally, knowing the population is key, as you can search for just that population for which you are interested, and it will weed out articles that might not be relevant to you. For qualitative studies, try searching the phenomenon of interest. For example, perhaps you would want to find out about the experience of water birth for laboring mothers. The key words could be experience and water birth. A subject search is more specific than a keyword search. It looks in only one field of each record, the subject field. Many databases use subject headings that are unique to that particular database. This controlled vocabulary allows for consistency of terms across the database. Keyword searching uses the words you can think of that best describe your topic. Keyword searches will be broad. Title, source, and contents of each item will be searched for your keywords. This is the reason your searches may retrieve too many, too few, or completely irrelevant items. That is why using this method is a good way to start your research process. A keyword search can be the first step on the way to finding subject headings appropriate for your topic and using them to get more relevant results. An author search simply just looks for published works by that particular author's name. Now, the wildcard is an advanced search technique that can be used to maximize your search results in library databases. Wildcards are used in search terms to represent one or more other characters. An asterisk may be used to specify any number of characters. It's typically used at the end of a root word when it is referred to as truncation. This is great when you want to search for variable endings of a root word. For example, searching educat asterisk would tell the database to look for all possible endings to that word. So the results would include educate, educated, education, educational, or educator. Boolean operators are simple words, and, or, not, and not, used as conjunctions to combine or exclude keywords in a search, resulting in more focused and productive results. This should save time and effort by eliminating inappropriate hits that must be scanned before discarding. Using these operators can greatly reduce or expand the amount of records returned. Boolean operators are useful in saving time by focusing searches for more on-target results that maybe are more appropriate to your needs. Each search engine or database collection uses Boolean operators in a slightly different way or may require the operator be typed in capitals or have special punctuation. The specific phrasing will be found in either the guide to the specific database found in research resources or the search engine's help screens. For example, and in all caps requires both terms that you're searching to be included in each item returned. So if one term is contained in the document and the other is not, the item is not included in the results list. So it narrows the search. If you use or in caps, either term or both will be in the returned articles or document. It broadens the search. Not in all caps, that's not used as often. It can narrow the search too much. If you place multi-word phrases, for example, nonverbal communication, in quotation marks, most databases will search only for articles where the words appear exactly as they do within the quotes, so a very specific phrase if they're contained within the quotation marks. Using quotation marks will often increase the number of useful articles a search finds. Now, quotation marks will decrease the overall number of articles as it's much more specific and direct, but this in itself will increase the number of actual useful articles to you. To be sure that a database includes all of your keywords in a search, use the Boolean operator AND between them. Lastly, there are many databases out there that will help you with your literature search, but CINAHL and Medline are two very pertinent databases that I will go into further in another tutorial specific to our university's electronic databases. And that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for hanging in there with me.